Welcome, everybody. Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you tuned it in from. My name is Dayal, and this is Spirit Matters, your daily Bhakti Center podcast. And it's just me today. Kishore and Achyuta are my normal co-hosts, are still out. Achyuta has been in Utah for a Sadhu Sangha, um, a large kirtan festival, spiritual gathering. And Kishore's on vacation in Brazil. So they just left me here alone in Brooklyn, and it's just me. Um, and we've been reading from the Journey Within, and I found this little beautiful section from the Journey Within on page 145. If you got a book, if you don't, I'll read it for you, and we can read along. And it's titled "The Essence of Spiritual Community." Quote: "I am the servant of the servant." And it's this. I mean, that quote, "The servant of the servant," is from um, a verse in a bhakti text, which is the biography of Sri Chaitanya, that says Das Anudas. And the word Das is interesting because a lot of spiritual names, like we in yoga communities, you have Krishna Das, Ram Das, Bhagavan Das. Das literally means servant. So my name is Dayal Garanga Das. Dayal means compassionate or merciful or grace. And Garanga means the golden one. And so it's a name for God, for divinity, the merciful, compassionate, golden one. But my name is Das, meaning that to remind me that I live in a mood of service towards that higher reality. And so the concept is that we're all serving something. We're all serving something. The question is, where do I direct my serving propensity in such a way that it brings me joy and that uplifts me and uplifts others? And I think so many of us, myself often included, is that I feel empty, I feel exhausted, I feel run down, I feel lost, I feel confused, I feel resentful when I spend so much time serving something, giving myself to something that I don't feel like I'm getting something back from, or I don't feel like I feel like I'm wasting my time. Everybody have this experience? Like, I wasted so much time putting energy in fill in the blank, in school, in this person, in this career, or whatever it is. Or I wish I would have, sometimes we come to spiritual life, I wish I would have known this earlier, because we feel like we give so much of ourself to somewhere and we don't know where it's going. But we're always serving something, whether it's another person, whether it's our family, whether it's our job, whether it's our career, whether it's our senses, whether it's my mind. We don't look at it that way often enough. Like, I'm actually serving my mind. Well, what do you mean you're serving your mind? Well, my mind told me something and I just did it. And my mind told me that this is what's going to bring me happiness. So I molded my whole life in that way, chasing that carrot. Or I'm serving my senses. Well, what do you mean you're serving your senses? Well, I had an urge to get potato chips, and so I went to the store and I served that desire and I got it. So we're constantly serving something, but we're not our body, we're not our mind, we're not our career, we're not our relationships, we're not our country, we're not any of those things, but we're serving something. And when we find genuinely happy people, they're people that have figured out where and how to direct their natural serving propensity in a way that is in alignment with their soul and lifts them up. It was Bob Dylan that said, "It may be the devil or it may be the Lord, but you're going to have to serve somebody." And so that reality. Um, and so this concept of das anu das, being this, not just the servant, but the servant of the servant, meaning that, like, I am, uh, I submit myself to the idea that there is power greater than me, and rather wrestling with that current, swimming against that current, I'm going to start being able to flow along with it. I'm going to flow along with it, and I'm going to take myself out of the center, and I want to serve the center rather than be the center. Mhm. So he has the essence of spiritual community. He writes, Radhanath Swami in The Journey Within, the Gita, chapter 6, verse 9, tells us that advanced spiritualists regard honest well-wishers affectionate benefactors, the neutral, the envious, friends and enemy, the pious and the materialists, all with an equal mind. I'm going to read that again. Advanced spiritualists regard honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral, the envious, friends and enemies, the pious and the materialists, all with an equal mind. How is that possible? What does it mean to view them with an equal mind? Well, it means that I'm no longer looking at them from the lens of what they can do for me. We have this phrase, even you walk in a room, you size people up, you measure people up. We network. I'm networking to figure out who is it that I want to bring into my circle based off of what they can do for me. Do they bring me joy? Do they, whatever it may be? I'm not saying that that's bad, but what I'm saying is that material consciousness is when we look at people and we find differentiations based off of how they relate to me and what they can do for me. But a spiritualist, an advanced spiritualist, as it's mentioned here, is somebody that has released other people from that unspoken obligation that your life is meant to fill my cup in some way. And I'm no longer judging you based on how you contribute to or take away from my happiness. Because my happiness is already, I've got that taken care of somewhere else. And then from that place, I can actually give. Because you can't give if you're still trying to get something from someone. You can't really see people with an equal mind if you're coming from a place of deficit and you're trying to see people in a lens of what they can possibly do to fill that hole that you have inside yourself. So he goes on, he says, relationships, like life, are full of complexities. For our practice, it's good to develop an equal, balanced mind when dealing with others. As servants of the Supreme, we are servants of each other. Sri Chaitanya taught a beautiful meditation. Think of yourself as a humble servant of the servant of the servant of God's servants. He taught we should be humbler than a blade of grass and more tolerant than a tree. Humility, tolerance, patience. Choosing these over ego when dealing with others helps us and pleases God the Supreme, because any parent is pleased to see his or her child getting along. But getting along takes sacrifice. The word sacrifice has a number of definitions, but in the context of love, we take the definition to make sacred. And we do this by centering our relationship on mutual spiritual interests. When spiritual ideas form the foundation of a relationship, the relationship can survive whatever challenges may arrive. The more we strive to improve ourselves spiritually and support our friends in doing the same, the more our relationships rise to a level beyond the reach of superficial disagreements and ego-driven agitation. The surface of a river changes with every breeze, but if we dive deep enough below the water's surface, we'll find a place of calm. I think we read this section in a previous episode last week or the week before, but it just really stuck out to me, so I wanted to read it again. And I think that for me, what I love how he mentions that relationships like life are full of complexities. And I think that, and oftentimes the quality of our life mimics or mirrors the quality of our relationships. And so much of the tension I generally feel in relationships was when I feel like I'm not getting what I want from the relationship. I'm not getting what I want from this relationship, not getting what I want from this marriage, from my kids, from my parents, from my friends, etc. And this sort of almost reverse psychology flipped the script narrative of what is it that I can give to my relationships. Now, I kind of hearing the voice of Kishore, who's not here, playing the devil's advocate about we can't just keep giving because we deplete ourselves and become resentful. Some of us have that people-pleasing mentality, and it kind of ends up working against us. It totally ends up working against us, right? The idea sometimes of spiritual shame of I'm not doing enough, I'm not serving enough. Okay, well I'm already feeling depleted, I'm already feeling empty, but I gotta just keep serving, and now I gotta give more, and I don't take care of my needs, etc. And we end up getting to a deeper place of resentment and emptiness, and then we just kind of get burnt out, and we feel like, okay, I'm just gonna give the whole thing up. Um, and so I think that it's this sort of sense of, what is it? What is the purpose of my relationships? What is the purpose of my relationships? The purpose of my relationships is to sometimes show me the things about myself that I know I need to change or grow. Like, how can I? The question is, and we can share this question. We can leave this question as our takeaway. How can I grow in love? How can I grow in love? Knowing that love ultimately comes back to me, however I give it. It doesn't come back to me necessarily from the exact place that I give it, meaning that if I love you, you're going to love me back. But the act of loving in and of itself, genuine, selfless loving, is like a balm on the heart. It's like a soothing balm on the soul. That there is a divine inner partner, a divine inner guide that recognizes that act of love and reciprocates with us in a way that we may not necessarily have anticipated. And so often we get pulled into this tunnel vision that love has to look a very specific way for me in the material world. Love has to look like him. Love has to look like her. Love has to look like my parents treating me in a certain way or saying something in a certain way. Love has to look like my children. Love has to look like my children being a certain way. Love has to look like having children. Love has to look like God's love has to look like me getting a certain job. God's love has to look like X, Y, and Z. If God loved me then, if you loved me then. And we have this very narrow tunnel vision of what the reciprocation of love looks like. And when we broaden our mindset, open our hearts more expansively, we allow ourselves to give love freely with open hands, and then we just are able to keep a broader eye out for how love is being sent back to us. Srila Prabhupada, Radhanath Swami's teacher, was once sitting with a group of students, and it was a warm day, and the sun was shining down, and was it was like this it was this kind of warm, you're feeling that warm embrace of the sun. And he said, one day you will feel the rays of the sun to be like the warm embrace of your lover. It was a really sweet meditation. And so the idea of us, when we let go of that tunnel vision of this is what God's love is supposed to look like in my life, this is what the reciprocation of love is supposed to be like, we start to actually notice the ways that love is being reciprocated with us. We start to notice the way that love is there in our life. We start to notice the way that the act of loving itself is rewarding us in deep ways. And so I think for me, as I think about this and I look at my life and I think of all the ways that, for honest, all the ways that I felt disappointed in relationships, all the ways that I felt let down by other people, all the ways that I felt like I gave in a certain way and didn't get something back. We all have people like that, people that have let us down, whether it's in a friend or an intimate partner or a family member, etc. And just asking myself, how long do I want to hold on to that? How long am I going to continue to rob myself of the experience of love being reciprocated by just continuing to look in an empty place? It's like when you're looking for a snack in the kitchen and you walk over to the fridge and you open the fridge and there's nothing in there. So you close the fridge and you walk over to the cupboard and there's nothing in there. So you close the cupboard and you walk back over to the fridge and there's still nothing in there. So you close the fridge and you walk back over to the cupboard and there's still nothing in the cupboard. And then you're like, oh, let me check the freezer. There's nothing in the freezer. And you're just walking back and forth for 10 minutes between empty cupboards and fridge spaces and realizing, like, when am I going to accept that what I'm looking for is not here? Doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It just means it's not here. And so I've spent a lot of energy in my life holding on to the idea that the love I'm looking for is in a very limited place. But love is unlimited. It's expansive and it's waiting for me just in maybe in places that I didn't allow myself to think it could be. And that's a big part of letting go of the lie of the material world. The material world tells us that what you're looking for is in the form and substance of a particular combination of matter, gross or subtle, an object, a person, a concept, a relationship. That's the lie of the material world. The love you're looking for is in this very specific place. And we spend our life chasing that carrot. And then when we get it, we think, oh, well, I didn't get it. It wasn't the way it was supposed to be. And we come up with for some reason or excuse of why it's not working. But the reality is that it was never there in the first place. And so when we have this concept of living life in a mood of service, of what can I give? How can I ask, what is it that I can give to other people? What is it that I can serve? How can I serve my relationships? It's actually on the concept that relationships are meant for me to ask the question, how can I grow in love? Which means how can I give more? Not, I don't want to say give more because so many of us are so depleted. It's like the idea of giving more. How can I shift my consciousness to see that the way that I'm being reciprocated in is broader than the small, narrow places that I'm looking for? I don't got Kishore or Chuta here to reflect back to me what they're thinking. So I'm going to turn to Kimberly, who's our point taker aware, and see what kind of takeaway she's got for us. And if anybody's got anything in the chat that they want to shout out, feel free to leave a comment, leave a question. Otherwise, in the meantime, I'm going to ask Kimberly to share a few takeaways back to me, and then I'll send a takeaway. And if there's any questions or comments in the chat, I will respond to those as well. Kimberly says that she can't unmute. Well, I am going to change that right now. Done.
Okay, thanks, Aya. So my takeaways
All right.
today. Can
There
you
she
guys hear
is.
me? I put
You there for us, Kimberly?
yes. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Hold on a second. Me is my. Hold on a second. Now try, Kimberly.
Hello?
I couldn't hear you before. It was my computer setting. All right, go for it.
Okay. So my takeaways today, take yourself out the center to serve the center.
Hmm.
And then like I liked your, how you said that relationships are meant for us to ask the questions, how can we grow in love? And I loved how you said that love is unlimited and expansive, and how it's important for us to let go of that tunnel vision, thinking that like the reciprocation of love has to be a certain way or in a certain place. So just seeing, opening our minds and seeing that love is, everywhere and a lot more than just where our limited mind thinks it is.
Beautiful. I mean, just look at the fact that look where we're at right now. We've got like a dozen people or plus on this live Zoom chat, plus however many people are listening right now. I saw a commercial once recently. It was a Reese's peanut butter cup commercial, and it was like it showed all these Reese's peanut butter cups, and it was like the fact that this commercial is happening right now and you're watching it means that your devices are listening to your stomach. Like meaning like, it's not a coincidence. Like the world, the universe is listening and they're responding and reciprocating with your desire to want to eat these Reese's peanut butter cups. And I was thinking that, like, that's exactly related to what we're saying now is like, how am I noticing the fact that God is listening? The universe is listening to my yearning for love. And so many of the things that the fact that you're listening to this podcast right now, the fact that you're listening to a message coming through about love and reciprocation, like that's an expression of God's love in your life. The fact that we have a group of people here together, that you're not alone listening right now, that we can be on a treasure hunt constantly to be finding the ways that love is being reciprocated with us through the simplest of things, through the things that we find in nature, through the exchanges that we find in other people, through whatever it may be. Rini wrote here, one of my affirmations every morning is reminding myself that I'm connected to the source of all love, and therefore I'm always operating from a place of abundance and wholeness. It reminds me that I don't lose anything when I share and give love, and this releases me from expecting anything in return. Beautiful, beautifully put. Thank you. And I think that for me, my takeaway, what I'm rolling home with is, yeah, releasing other people from the expectation that they owe me something, that I need something in return for everything that I give. And that ultimately I do believe we are reciprocated when we give, just not always in the places we think it's supposed to come from. We are reciprocated when we give. It's just not always in the places or from the people or in the ways that we think it's supposed to be. And I just need to step back, broaden my view a little bit, and see that and look for that and be open for that and pray for that and meditate on that and ask for the vision for that. Create space where I can pause and allow that to come into my life because I believe it's true and I believe it's very powerful. And if nobody ever told you guys yet, I love you. I appreciate you. Glad that you're here. And some comments are keep coming. Maybe serving and love serving is a work for both ways, the one who gives and the one who receives. I got this question in the middle of Food for Life. Food for Life, she's distributing, food distribution, where downtown in Cali, she's coming from Colombia, serving the prasadam, spiritual food, to people in a really vulnerable situation. And they were surprised, like, why are you serving me? What can I give back to you? So maybe it's a mindset from both ways, from the one who's giving and the one who's receiving. Receiving is also hard. Yes. Receiving is also hard. And so it's also important for us to open ourselves up in a way to receive. Because if we're not open to receive, we're going to miss the ways that it's coming to us. We're going to put up a wall and we're going to miss it. So that goes hand in hand. I think Anna very well said that in order for us to notice the ways that love is being reciprocated with us, we have to be willing and open ourselves to the idea that it's there and that it's okay for us to receive it. So love you guys so much. We're out of time here today, but I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for being you. Thank you so much for being with us. I look forward to us spending time, same place. If you like something you heard, please share with a friend. Tell somebody that you love them, and we'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye.